we live on a shell and that inside the Earth is a hollow cavity.
Scientists may have finally uncovered the truth behind the Garden of Eden. Recent discoveries in Iraq, a mysterious cave near the Tigris and Euphrates, ancient artifacts, and strange plant life have reignited the debate about Eden's real location. Could this be the lost paradise? As new technologies like satellite imaging reveal hidden rivers and ancient paths, are we about to uncover the biblical Eden once and for all? Join us as we explore groundbreaking evidence that could change everything we thought we knew about humanity's origins. Section 1. The Biblical Garden of Eden, Myth or Reality? The Garden of Eden, a perfect paradise described in the Bible, a world of pure innocence where Adam and Eve walked freely, untouched by sin. According to the book of Genesis, Eden was not just a place of spiritual peace, but a real physical garden sustained by 4 rivers: the Tigris, the Euphrates, the Pishon, and the Gihon. We know the Tigris and Euphrates still flow today in modern Iraq, but the locations of the Pishon and Gihon, they've been lost to history. But what if a shocking archaeological discovery in northern Iraq might just bring us closer to understanding the exact location of this paradise? Could the Garden of Eden truly exist beneath the Earth's surface, waiting to be uncovered? That's right. This long-debated paradise, which for centuries has been dismissed as either myth or metaphor, may not just be a biblical story after all. Archaeologists have uncovered a mysterious cave system near the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, raising the possibility that the Garden of Eden wasn't just a theological idea, but an actual place, hidden from us for millennia. But before we dive deeper into this discovery, we need to understand how deeply Eden's story has shaped religious thought and how it continues to haunt us as a symbol of what humanity lost. The Bible describes Eden as the birthplace of the first humans, Adam and Eve, created by God to live in harmony. They were placed in this garden, a lush, fertile paradise, and given everything they could ever need. At the center of this paradise were 2 trees, the tree of life, which granted eternal life, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil, whose forbidden fruit would change the course of humanity forever. When Adam and Eve ate from the tree of knowledge, they disobeyed God, and in that one moment of defiance, doomed themselves and all of humanity to mortality and suffering. What does this story mean? For many believers, Eden is more than a garden. It's a symbol of innocence and purity, a reminder of what was lost when humanity chose knowledge over obedience. It represents a time before suffering, before death, before sin. The moment Adam and Eve ate that forbidden fruit, they were banished from paradise, setting into motion all of human history filled with toil, hardship, and pain. Eden became a place out of reach, guarded by an angel with a flaming sword, a symbol of humanity's lost perfection. But for some, Eden isn't just a symbol. It's a real place, one that could still be found. The Bible gives us 2 key clues: the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. These rivers are real and still flow through Iraq, but what about the Pishon and Gihon? Theories abound. Some suggest that the Pishon may have flowed through what is now Saudi Arabia, its course buried under the desert. Others think the Gihon might refer to the Nile or a river that once flowed through Ethiopia, but no one knows for sure. For centuries, explorers and theologians have tried to locate Eden, following these rivers in an attempt to find the paradise that was lost. Now, with this recent discovery in Iraq, everything could change. Could this cave system near the Tigris and Euphrates hold the key to unlocking the mystery of Eden? Could we finally be on the verge of finding humanity's first home? The excitement surrounding the discovery is palpable, but so is the skepticism. Some argue that this is just another in a long line of false leads, that no matter how intriguing the find may be, we'll never truly locate Eden. But others believe that this could be the breakthrough we've been waiting for, a clue that brings us one step closer to finding the real Eden. Section 2. The Northern Iraq Cave Discovery. In 2023, a team of archaeologists led by Dr. John Smith unearthed a cave system in northern Iraq that defies belief. This isn't just another find. This cave, hidden for millennia near the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, may be the key to unlocking one of the greatest mysteries of all time, the actual location of the biblical Garden of Eden. Deep within these caves, the team discovered something extraordinary: plants that have evolved in total isolation, cut off from the outside world for thousands of years. These plants are like nothing modern science has ever documented. Some glow faintly in the dim light of the cave, others release strange scents, and all of them seem almost alien, as though they belong to a world forgotten by time. How could a place so strange, so isolated, exist without being noticed until now? But the plant life is just the beginning of this shocking discovery. Archaeologists also found ancient artifacts scattered throughout the cave system, objects that hint at a long-lost civilization with deep spiritual ties to this site. Inscriptions carved into the walls, still being deciphered, speak of a forbidden place and reference themes that eerily echo the story of Eden, divine knowledge, paradise lost, and warnings about the consequences of disobedience. Are these carvings the remnants of an ancient culture that knew of Eden's existence? Or could they point to something far more ominous, a forgotten civilization that may have lived at the very threshold of paradise? Let's pause for a second. The Garden of Eden is described in the Bible as being nourished by 4 rivers: the Tigris, Euphrates, Pishon, and Gihon. 2 of these rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates, are real and flow through Iraq today, providing a crucial geographical clue to Eden's location. But for centuries, scholars have debated the existence and whereabouts of the Pishon and Gihon, 2 rivers mentioned in Genesis that seem to have vanished from the earth. Perhaps the discovery of this cave near the Tigris and Euphrates is the missing link that leads us to the actual Garden of Eden. It's important to understand just how massive this revelation could be. The Tigris and Euphrates have always been central to the story of early human civilization. Mesopotamia, the region between these rivers, is widely regarded as the birthplace of organized human society. It's where writing, agriculture, and urban development first began. The fact that this cave system was found so close to these rivers immediately raises red flags for anyone familiar with the Bible's description of Eden. Of course, this isn't the first time people have claimed to have found Eden. Explorers throughout history have pointed to various locations, from the mountains of Armenia to the deserts of the Middle East, all claiming to have discovered the garden. But none of these claims have been proven. Even now, with this new discovery, the evidence remains inconclusive. The mysterious inscriptions and plants are fascinating, but there's still no definitive evidence that they originated from Eden or that they hold any connection to the biblical paradise. But the excitement is hard to ignore. If this site proves to be linked to Eden, it would be one of the most significant archaeological discoveries in human history. And here's one of the strongest clues that we have. This cave's proximity to the Tigris and Euphrates gives it more credibility than many previous Eden discoveries. For centuries, explorers have speculated that Eden might be somewhere in the Persian Gulf, or perhaps hidden in the deserts of the Arabian Peninsula. But no one has found anything that matches the biblical description as closely as this cave system does. And as for the plant life, these species have evolved in complete isolation. And some scientists are suggesting that these plants could be descendants of the very flora that once filled the Garden of Eden. Skeptics point out that some of the artifacts found in the cave date to periods much later than the biblical timeline for Eden. But that doesn't completely rule out a connection. It's possible that ancient civilizations, drawn to the mysterious beauty of this cave, recognized its spiritual significance and considered it a holy site, leaving behind their own marks on what might once have been part of Eden. The inscriptions, which reference themes of paradise and divine punishment, could be the echoes of a culture that remembered Eden in its oral traditions and carved its memory into the very walls of this cave. And then there's the strange ecosystem. Imagine stepping into this hidden world where the air is thick with the scent of unknown plants, where glowing leaves and flowers bathe the cave in an eerie light. This is no ordinary ecosystem. It's an untouched, sealed-off environment that has adapted in ways we've never seen before. Some of the plants appear to have medicinal properties, while others might hold secrets that could revolutionize our understanding of ancient plant life. It is possible that these plants could be the key to proving, once and for all, that Eden was not just a story, but a real place. At the heart of this mystery lies a profound question that haunts us all. If this cave system is truly linked to Eden, what does it mean for humanity? What does it mean for our understanding of history, religion, and the origin of life on Earth? And what terrifying secrets could still be hidden in the depths of this cave, waiting to be uncovered? Section 3. Geographical clues to Eden's location. What the Bible tells us. In the search for the Garden of Eden, one of the most enduring mysteries centers around the geographical clues provided in the Bible itself. Genesis chapter 2, verses 10 through 14 describe Eden as being watered by a river that splits into 4 tributaries: the Tigris, the Euphrates, the Pishon, and the Gihon. Of these rivers, the Tigris and Euphrates are well known today, both flowing through modern Iraq and widely accepted by scholars as real, identifiable locations. But the other 2 rivers, Pishon and Gihon, have eluded definitive identification for centuries. Could their mystery hold the key to finding Eden? The Tigris and Euphrates, which still run through Mesopotamia, anchor the biblical description of Eden to this region. Historically, this area has been referred to as the cradle of civilization, where some of humanity's earliest cities and cultures took root. The Tigris, known as Hiddekel in some biblical texts, flows from the mountains of Turkey, passing through Iraq before joining the Euphrates. The Euphrates, often called one of the most significant rivers in human history, follows a similar course through Iraq. These 2 rivers provide fertile land for agriculture and have been the backbone of early civilizations like the Sumerians, Babylonians, and Assyrians. Given their significance, it makes sense that they feature in the biblical narrative of Eden. But the intrigue lies in the mention of the other 2 rivers, Pishon and Gihon. Where are they? And why have their locations been so difficult to pin down? Theories about the Pishon and Gihon have been abundant, ranging from plausible geographic explanations to more speculative ideas. The Pishon is described in Genesis as encircling the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. Some scholars believe Havilah refers to a region rich in natural resources, perhaps in the Arabian Peninsula. Based on this, one theory is that the Pishon could have been a river flowing through what is now Saudi Arabia, possibly a long, dry riverbed covered by the shifting sands of the desert. In recent years, satellite imagery has revealed ancient riverbeds across the Arabian Peninsula, lending some weight to this theory and raising the possibility that one of these might just be the biblical river Pishon. However, another theory places the river in Africa. Some suggest that it might have been the Nile, given its length and the fact that the Nile also flows through regions historically rich in gold. But this theory faces challenges, as the Nile's course and geography don't perfectly align with the description of the Pishon in Genesis. Still, it's not entirely impossible that ancient writers may have had a broader interpretation of river networks that extended beyond the specific geography we know today. And what about the Gihon? The Bible says that this river winds through the entire land of Cush. Cush is typically associated with the regions south of Egypt, which has led some to speculate that the Gihon could also be linked to the Nile or one of its tributaries. Others suggest that Cush may refer to areas further east, potentially stretching into regions that were part of the early Mesopotamian world. This uncertainty about what ancient names referred to, since boundaries and geographic terminology have changed over millennia, makes identifying the Gihon even more complicated. Adding another layer to the mystery, we must also consider the possibility that natural events over thousands of years have dramatically altered the landscape. Floods, tectonic shifts, and climate change could have caused rivers to change course, dry up, or merge with others, erasing their original paths from the map. It's important to remember that the world described in Genesis is from a time far removed from the modern landscape. The Tigris and Euphrates we know today may not even flow in exactly the same way they did thousands of years ago. Could the Pishon and Gihon have been wiped from the surface of the earth by such events? And how much of Eden's geography has been lost to time? Some scholars have argued that the biblical writers may have used symbolic or idealized geography when describing Eden's rivers, rather than referring to real fixed locations. In this view, the four rivers could represent a kind of cosmological ideal, symbols of abundance, life, and divine sustenance. The image of a paradise where water flows in four directions evokes a world that is perfectly ordered and fruitful, a place where everything humanity needed was provided by God. This symbolic interpretation has gained traction among those who see the Eden story as less about finding a physical location and more about conveying deeper spiritual truths. Still, others are determined to pursue a literal interpretation, believing that Eden was a real place that existed in a specific location on Earth. The continuing advancements in archaeology and technology, like the use of satellite imagery to detect ancient riverbeds, give some hope that we may one day be able to reconstruct the landscape described in Genesis. If we could identify the paths of the Pishon and Gihon, it might give us the final pieces of the puzzle to pinpoint Eden's exact location. Section 4. Mesopotamian myths and other Near Eastern influence on the Eden narrative. The story of the Garden of Eden has fascinated people for millennia, but its roots may go much deeper than the biblical narrative itself. In fact, many scholars believe that the Eden story was influenced by earlier Mesopotamian myths, which were prevalent in the same region where the Bible was written. One of the most striking parallels to the Eden story comes from the Epic of Gilgamesh, one of the oldest known pieces of literature in human history. Written in ancient Mesopotamia, this epic follows the adventures of Gilgamesh, a king who embarks on a quest for immortality. Along his journey, Gilgamesh encounters a sacred garden, a place of beauty and eternal life that shares many similarities with the Garden of Eden. In this garden, Gilgamesh meets Utnapishtim, a man who, like Noah in the Bible, survived a great flood sent by the gods. Utnapishtim reveals the secret of eternal life to Gilgamesh, just as the tree of life in Eden symbolizes immortality. The parallels between this divine garden and Eden are hard to ignore, but the connections don't stop there. Another ancient Mesopotamian text, the Enuma Elish, presents a creation story that has clear echoes in the Bible's account of Eden. In the Enuma Elish, the world is created out of chaos, with the gods bringing order to the universe. This theme of creation from chaos is mirrored in the Bible's depiction of God creating the world and placing Adam and Eve in a carefully ordered paradise. Like the Eden story, Mesopotamian myths also explore the tension between divine knowledge and human existence. In these stories, knowledge and immortality are often seen as privileges of the gods, and humans are warned against overstepping their boundaries. Much like Adam and Eve are forbidden from eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge in Eden. The similarities between these ancient myths and the Eden narrative suggest that the Bible story may have been influenced by earlier traditions in the region. Mesopotamia, after all, was a melting pot of cultures and religious ideas, and it's likely that the biblical writers would have been familiar with these stories. In fact, the idea of a sacred garden, often associated with divine beings, appears in multiple Mesopotamian myths. These gardens are places of abundance and beauty, reserved for the gods and sometimes forbidden to humans, just as Eden was a place of perfect harmony, closed off to humanity after Adam and Eve's disobedience. Take the Sumerians, for example, one of the earliest civilizations in Mesopotamia. In Sumerian mythology, the gods lived in a heavenly garden called Dilmun, a paradise where there was no pain or death and where the gods could live in peace. Dilmun was a place of divine perfection, much like the Garden of Eden. In one Sumerian myth, the goddess Ninhursag creates a beautiful garden filled with fruit-bearing trees, which she tends alongside her divine companions. But, as in the Eden story, this harmony is disrupted. When the god Enki eats forbidden plants from the garden, Ninhursag curses him, leading to suffering and disharmony. This tale bears a striking resemblance to the story of Adam and Eve, where the eating of forbidden fruit leads to the fall of man and expulsion from paradise. What these parallels show is that the Eden story reflects broader themes that were already present in ancient Near Eastern mythology. Themes of creation, divine gardens, and the consequences of human disobedience. But why do these themes keep recurring across different cultures? One explanation is that these stories are rooted in universal human experiences. The idea of a lost paradise, a time before suffering, and a yearning to return to a simpler existence are concepts that resonate across cultures and time periods. In this way, the story of Eden taps into something deeply human, a desire to understand the origins of suffering and to find meaning in the hardships of life. Section 5. Scientific Perspectives on Human Origins and the Eden Debate. When we talk about the Garden of Eden, many people think of it as the place where humanity first began, a paradise where the first humans, Adam and Eve, lived in innocence. But what does science say about human origins? How does the biblical story of Eden align or conflict with the scientific understanding of where and how humanity began? In recent decades, some scholars have suggested that the story of Eden might not be about a literal garden, but rather a symbolic retelling of humanity's migration and emergence from Africa, known as the cradle of humankind. Let's start with the scientific discoveries that have shaped our understanding of human origins. The oldest human ancestors, such as Australopithecus, lived in Africa millions of years ago. One of the most famous fossil finds is Australopithecus afarensis, better known as Lucy, discovered in Ethiopia and dating back over 3 million years. This species, while not human, represents a critical step in our evolutionary journey. Over time, through natural selection and evolutionary pressures, species like Homo habilis and Homo erectus emerged, showing increasingly human-like traits such as tool use and upright walking. The story of humanity's development from these early ancestors to Homo sapiens, our species, stretches across millions of years, with evidence of early humans spreading across Africa before eventually migrating outwards to populate the rest of the world. The out-of-Africa theory, widely supported by genetic and fossil evidence, suggests that modern humans, or Homo sapiens, evolved in Africa around 200,000 years ago. As populations grew and environmental conditions changed, these early humans began migrating out of Africa, spreading into Europe, Asia, and beyond. This great migration marked a key moment in human history, allowing our ancestors to adapt to new environments and cultures, eventually leading to the diversity of peoples we see today. But could this movement, the spread of early humans from their African homeland, have inspired the Eden narrative? Some scholars and anthropologists have argued that the Garden of Eden could be seen as a metaphor for humanity's early existence in Africa. According to this view, Eden represents a state of innocence, a time when early humans lived in relative harmony with nature before their migration out of Africa forced them to confront the harsher realities of life. The expulsion from Eden could be interpreted as a symbolic representation of this migration, a moment when humans left their original paradise in search of new lands, facing the challenges of survival, knowledge, and adaptation. This interpretation of Eden doesn't directly conflict with evolutionary science. Rather, it allows for the biblical narrative to be understood as a metaphor for real historical events, reshaped and retold over generations. The story of Adam and Eve, for instance, can be seen as a reflection of the development of human consciousness, the moment when humans became aware of themselves as moral beings, capable of making choices that had far-reaching consequences. In the Eden story, eating the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil represents this awakening, a shift from a simpler existence to one marked by the complexities of knowledge, morality, and responsibility. From a scientific perspective, this could parallel the development of higher cognitive functions in early humans, which allowed them to build societies, understand their environment, and make decisions that would shape their future. When we compare the biblical story of Eden with the scientific narrative of human origins, some key differences emerge. The Bible suggests that humanity began with a single pair, Adam and Eve, who were created fully formed by God. In contrast, evolutionary science points to a gradual development of Homo sapiens from earlier hominids, with populations growing and changing over thousands of generations. There is no single first human, but rather a long, complex process of evolution that led to the humans we are today. While these views may seem incompatible, the metaphorical interpretation of Eden allows for a different kind of harmony between the two narratives, one that emphasizes the moral and spiritual lessons of the Eden story rather than its historical accuracy. Another crucial area where science has informed our understanding of human origins is genetics. In the early 2000s, researchers used DNA evidence to trace the lineage of all modern humans back to a common ancestor, sometimes referred to as mitochondrial Eve. It's important to note that mitochondrial Eve is not the same as the biblical Eve. Instead, this term refers to a woman who lived in Africa approximately 150,000 years ago, whose mitochondrial DNA has been passed down through all living humans. Similarly, genetic evidence points to a Y chromosomal Adam, who lived roughly 200 to 300,000 years ago, though the two individuals likely never met or lived at the same time. These scientific figures represent the point at which the modern human gene pool began to take shape, but they don't imply a single couple from whom all humans descended. The use of genetics has revolutionized our understanding of human origins, providing concrete evidence that supports the out-of-Africa theory. By analyzing mitochondrial DNA, which is passed down from mothers, and Y chromosome DNA, passed down from fathers, scientists have been able to trace the movements of early human populations, revealing a story of migration, adaptation, and survival. This scientific approach offers a stark contrast to the simplicity of the biblical Eden narrative, yet it tells a similar story, one of human beings moving from a place of origin to new, unexplored territories. Still, the question remains, why do these two stories, one scientific and one religious, continue to capture our imagination? Perhaps it's because they both attempt to answer fundamental questions about who we are and where we come from. So, according to this theory, Eden may not be a literal garden, but a representation of a time when humans lived in harmony with nature, before being forced to confront the challenges of life beyond their homeland. But whether we see Eden as a real place or a metaphor, its enduring power lies in its ability to speak to the universal human experience, a longing for paradise, a quest for knowledge, and the realization that there is no going back. Section 6. The ongoing search. What lies ahead? The search for the Garden of Eden has persisted for millennia, but now, with the rise of modern technology, we might be closer than ever to uncovering its secrets. Satellite imaging has become one of the most promising tools in the quest for lost civilizations and ancient landscapes. Using high-resolution satellite imagery, archaeologists can now detect ancient riverbeds, hidden structures, and even entire cities that have been buried for thousands of years. For a story like Eden, which centers around rivers that may have long since dried up, this technology is a game-changer. Satellite imagery has already revealed ancient waterways in regions such as the Arabian Peninsula and the Persian Gulf, areas long thought to be connected to the biblical descriptions of Eden. Could these long-lost river systems be the paths of the Pishon and Gihon, the two rivers mentioned in Genesis that have puzzled scholars for centuries? But it doesn't stop there. Ground-penetrating radar is taking the search to a whole new level. This technology allows researchers to scan beneath the Earth's surface without ever breaking the ground, identifying buried structures and features with incredible accuracy. In regions like Iraq, where the Tigris and Euphrates flow, the very rivers linked to Eden, archaeologists are using this technology to explore what lies beneath the sands and cities of today. Iraq and the surrounding regions hold immense archaeological promise. Mesopotamia, widely considered the birthplace of civilization, was home to the earliest cities, writing systems, and complex societies. The ancient landscapes of the Tigris and Euphrates rivers have already yielded incredible discoveries, and researchers believe there is still much more to be found. Sites like the recent cave discovery in northern Iraq, which reignited interest in Eden, suggest that new discoveries could fundamentally reshape our understanding of the ancient world. But while some researchers believe we're on the verge of groundbreaking discoveries, others urge caution. There have been false leads before, other Edens that turned out to be nothing more than wishful thinking. In many ways, the ongoing quest for Eden is a reflection of our need to understand where we came from and what we've lost along the way. Whether Eden is found or not, the very act of searching speaks to something timeless in the human spirit. We are drawn to the idea of paradise, whether it's a real place or a symbol of something greater. And as technology advances, the search will only become more intense. New archaeological tools are emerging every year, allowing us to see further into the past than ever before. From the dry deserts of the Middle East to the lush marshlands of Mesopotamia, researchers are scouring the earth for clues, chasing a story that has shaped human consciousness for millennia. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Click the next video for more exciting content.